Welcome back, those of you still with us. From August 4th through August 10th, the United States recorded 633 shootings. In those incidents, 292 people were killed, 228 were victims, and 64 were suspects. Another 538 people were injured. California is at the top this week with 31 dead in 55 shootings. Texas follows with 27 killed in 48 incidents. Illinois, Ohio, and Indiana each recorded 14 fatalities. At the city level, Chicago continues its lead with 39 shootings and 9 dead. Atlanta logged 14 incidents with 3 killed, and Houston saw 12 shootings with 4 killed. But not every state made the list. This week, the No Shooting Award goes to New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont, 3 states with 0 reported gunfire. Honorable mentions go to Maine, North Dakota, and Utah, which had shootings but no deaths. With that, let us count down the top 10 deadliest shootings of the week, starting at number 10. Number 10, Holly Springs, Mississippi. Just before 6 in the morning on Saturday, August 9th, police were called to the Circle K gas station on Highway 7 South. They found a man shot multiple times and pronounced dead at the scene. Witnesses reported a small white SUV leaving the area. Minutes later, officers responded to a single-car crash on West Boundary Street, only a few miles away. Inside the vehicle, they discovered a woman in the back seat who had also been shot and killed. Friends later identified her as 22-year-old Ariel Denton, who had recently become a mother. Investigators quickly named 29-year-old Darian McKinney as a suspect. Authorities say Denton was struck in the head by gunfire as the SUV fled the Circle K scene. McKinney then drove several miles before crashing. The case drew added attention after it was revealed that McKinney was wearing an ankle monitor from the Mississippi Department of Corrections. Police say it took 45 minutes for his location to register, instead of the usual 5, and by that time he had already crossed into Memphis. Residents expressed shock and fear at the violence, noting that Holly Springs has not historically seen killings like this. McKinney later turned himself in to the Marshall County Sheriff's Office. He is facing multiple murder charges as the investigation continues. Number 9, Carson, California. On Wednesday night, August 6th, police were called to the area near Compton Creek and the 710 freeway. Firefighters had discovered a body in the riverbed. When officers arrived, they found 2 men with gunshot wounds to the upper body. Both were pronounced dead at the scene. The victims were later identified as 44-year-old Luis Parra Estrada and 24-year-old Josue Pacheco. Both men were reported to be experiencing homelessness. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner confirmed their deaths as homicides caused by gunshot wounds to the head. Detectives say the motive remains unclear and no arrests have been made. Authorities are asking anyone with information to contact the Long Beach Police Department or submit tips through LA Crime Stoppers. Number 8. Glenwood, Iowa. On the evening of Wednesday, August 6th, police were called to a neighborhood in Glenwood, about 150 miles southwest of Des Moines. Reports of gunfire were quickly followed by an explosion and a fire at a home on Grove Street. Inside, officers found 38-year-old Brandon Oman, who was pronounced dead at the scene, and his wife, 35-year-old Stevie Oman, who was taken to the hospital but later died. The couple's neighbor, 71-year-old Dennis Burnell, was identified as the shooter. Authorities say he opened fire during an ongoing dispute, then triggered an explosion that set the house ablaze. Burnell was pulled from the burning home with severe injuries and initially taken into custody. He later died at a burn unit 2 days after the attack. Residents described the event as chaotic, with gunshots ringing out, smoke rising, and emergency alerts ordering people to stay inside. Police say the violence appears to have stemmed from a personal conflict between the Omans and Burnell. The case is being handled as an isolated double homicide that left the small community shaken. Number 7, Middleburg, Florida. Just after midnight on Monday, August 4th, deputies in Clay County received a call from a 14-year-old boy at a nearby church. He told dispatchers that he had just killed his parents. When deputies arrived at the family's home near Silver Point and County Road 220, they found 44-year-old David Lee and 45-year-old Brandy Smith dead from gunshot wounds. Investigators say their son, Trevor Lee, admitted to using a gun from the house during an argument, then leaving it behind before walking to the church to turn himself in. Sheriff Michelle Cook described the case as a tragic domestic dispute that ended in violence. She emphasized the incident was isolated and that no further threat exists to the community. The teenager was taken into custody at the church without resistance. The investigation remains ongoing. Number 6, San Antonio, Texas. Late on Sunday night, August 10th, police were called to the Woodfield Apartments on Altitude Drive on the city's west side. Inside, officers found 3 people shot in the head. The victims were the suspect's 22-year-old son, his 28-year-old girlfriend, and the 21-year-old mother of his child. All three were rushed to the hospital. The son, Jose Darwin Rivera Vasquez, died from his wounds. Nearly a week later, the girlfriend, Annabelle Lechette Vasquez, also succumbed to her injuries. The third victim, Jasmine Diaz Cruz, remains hospitalized with life-threatening injuries. The suspect, 44-year-old Wilfredo Lopez, also known as Jose Freddy Rivera Mejia, fled the scene in a pickup truck with 3 of his children, leaving another child behind in the apartment. Officers later stopped the vehicle and arrested him. The children were found unharmed. Lopez has been charged with capital murder of multiple persons, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and illegal entry into the United States. Immigration officials say he has been deported 3 separate times in the past. He is now being held on an immigration detainer in addition to state charges. Police say the shooting followed a disturbance in the apartment, but the exact motive remains unclear. Number 5. East Cleveland, Ohio. On Thursday night, August 7th, police in East Cleveland were called to a home on North Taylor Road for a domestic dispute. Inside, a gunman opened fire, killing 2 of his own family members. The victims were later identified as 22-year-old Eric Sharp and 82-year-old Charles Roscoe. As officers arrived at the scene, the suspect, identified as 24-year-old Aaron Sharp, fired at them. Patrolman Joshua Durda was struck in the leg. About an hour later, Sharp shot a second officer, Brandon Hernandez, in the lower back near Euclid Avenue. Both officers survived and were treated at university hospitals. The shootings triggered an all-night manhunt with dozens of local, state, and federal agencies involved. Sharp was finally tracked to a home near Shaw High School early the next morning. U.S. Marshals say he lunged at a deputy during the arrest before being subdued with a stun gun. Sharp now faces charges of aggravated murder for killing his brother and grandfather and felonious assault on a police officer for wounding the 2 officers. City officials called the case a reminder of the risks police face every day. Number 4. Los Angeles, California. Just after 1 in the morning on Monday, August 4th, gunfire broke out at a warehouse party in downtown Los Angeles near East 14th Place and Paloma Street. Police found 8 people shot. 29-year-old Gregory Darisso died at the scene. 52-year-old Africa Johnson was taken to the hospital, where she died. 2 men in their 30s remain in critical condition. 4 others, ranging in age from 26 to 62, were treated in stable condition. Witnesses described the chaos as sounding like 100 shots, followed by a stampede as partygoers fled into the street. A resident in a nearby encampment said he had felt the music pounding through the night until the sudden eruption of gunfire. "You knew if those bullets landed in somebody, they weren't walking away," he told reporters. Police had shut down an unauthorized party at the warehouse just 2 hours earlier, arresting 1 person with a gun. Detectives later recovered multiple firearms from the scene. Sources told the Los Angeles Times the event was tied to a local gang's Hood Day celebration. Community leaders called it part of a growing problem with illegal after-hours warehouse parties in the downtown industrial district. Mayor Karen Bass condemned the shooting as senseless violence and promised accountability. By morning, detectives had marked nearly 50 shell casings on the ground as families of the victims gathered in grief nearby. Number 3. New Orleans, Louisiana. On Sunday, August 10th, police were called to a home on Boeing Street in the Pines Village neighborhood. Officers found 50-year-old Zenitria Stevenson and 55-year-old Esvin Carrera shot dead. A third victim, 31-year-old Gerald Stevenson, was taken to the hospital with critical injuries and later died. Investigators say the case was a double murder-suicide. Relatives told police that Jarrell argued with his mother. When she threatened to call police, he shot her outside. He then went inside and killed her longtime partner, who was sitting in a wheelchair after a stroke, before turning the gun on himself. Family members say his young son was sitting nearby, but was not hurt. Gerald's relatives said he had changed after time in jail and seemed unstable in the months before the shooting. Councilman Eugene Green called the killings another reminder that even as crime rates fall, families are still being torn apart by gun violence. Number 2. Dallas, Texas. Just after 2 in the morning on Saturday, August 9th, police were called to a home on Dudley Avenue in the Oak Cliff neighborhood. Inside, they found 37-year-old Ranjana Shrestha and her 3-year-old son Pranish shot to death. The shooter was identified as 53-year-old Lalit Pradhan, Shrestha's husband and the boy's father. He was found with a gunshot wound and severe cuts, taken to a hospital, and later pronounced dead. Investigators say Pradhan killed his wife and son before turning the gun on himself. Court and community sources revealed that Pradhan had long struggled with depression. The day before the shooting, he posted on Facebook about feeling overwhelmed, unable to work, and that his family had been left without government support. He wrote that they had been forced to work hard just to survive. The Nepalese Society of Texas confirmed that All three were of Nepali origin, with Pradhan a Bhutanese refugee and Shrestha a Nepali national. The organization is helping coordinate with relatives overseas and working on arrangements to return the bodies to Nepal. Leaders describe the tragedy as devastating for the tight-knit community. The case comes only 2 months after a similar murder-suicide claimed the lives of another Nepali family in Virginia, drawing painful comparisons and heightened concern among Nepali families across the U.S. Police say the Dallas investigation remains open, but all evidence points to a murder-suicide driven by personal and family stress. Number 1. Frederica, Delaware. On Wednesday night, August 6th, troopers were called for a welfare check on Lorna Drive in the High Point Park mobile home community near Frederica. Inside, they found 3 people with gunshot wounds. An 81-year-old woman and an 18-year-old man were pronounced dead at the scene. A 53-year-old woman was also found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Detectives later identified the victims as Linda Hyman, age 81, and Ethan Christensen, age 18. The shooter was identified as Stacy Marie Christensen, age 53. All 3 lived in Frederica. State police are investigating the case as a murder-suicide. They have not released what prompted the welfare check, the relationships between those involved, or a possible motive. The homicide unit is asking anyone with information to contact investigators. Victim services are being offered to the families through the Delaware State Police Victim Services Unit. International bonus, Santa Lucia, Ecuador. In the early hours of Sunday, August 10th, gunmen stormed a nightclub in the small town of Santa Lucia in Guayas province. They opened fire on the crowd, killing 8 people and wounding at least 3 others. 7 victims were pronounced dead at the scene. An 8th died later in hospital. Among the dead was the club's owner, who was also the brother of the town's mayor, Ubaldo Urquizo. Local officials offered condolences to the mayor's family, calling the killings a devastating blow to the community. Police say heavily armed attackers arrived on motorcycles and in 2 vehicles before carrying out the massacre. No arrests have been announced, and the motive has not yet been confirmed. Authorities believe the attack is tied to the ongoing wave of gang and cartel violence sweeping Ecuador's coastal provinces, where the majority of the world's cocaine moves through local ports. That wraps up this week's list of the deadliest shootings. Subscribe to see who will die next week and hope it's not you. Stay safe.